Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Tom Stewart here. I'm with Liz Trotter, and this is Smart Business Moves. Our guest today is Chris Schwab. Hello, Chris. How are you?
Hey, doing well. How are you guys?
We're
Hey,
doing
Chris.
awesome. Thank you for staying up late for us tonight. I know that you're over in London. So, what time is it there?
It's about 10 p.m., so it's definitely the end of the day, but it's not too late yet. If it's
Yeah.
2 a.m., we wouldn't be doing this.
You're young. 10 p.m. doesn't even seem late, does it?
Every year it seems a little bit later.
Oh, yeah, that's what
It's okay
happens.
for now.
Yeah,
It
you,
sneaks up
you
on
did, just wait, Chris. Just wait.
you. You'll be thinking, 10 o'clock? Are you kidding me?
What am I doing up tonight?
I'll be home for 2 hours. All right.
So this is our schedule for the week. Chris is going to be with us today, and it's going to be a continuation of a discussion we had a few weeks ago in terms of how, he lives in Europe and runs a cleaning business here in Washington, D.C., and he shared a ton of tricks in terms of how he manages his staff. So we're going to be doing a deeper dive into some of those approaches. Tomorrow, our friend Perry Tate's going to be with us, and we're going to be picking up on a discussion that we had with him a few weeks ago. He's got a model where you basically just take an idea and actually turn it into a product. I mean, he has a manufacturing company in China. He lives in China, and he makes a lot of really innovative tools, primarily for the window cleaning industry, but also some tools that are now being used to disinfect and fight COVID. And his thought process from just inspiration to execution is unique. He's going to share that with us, and we're going to do a case study that I think is going to be pretty cool. So if you guys can fit that into your schedule, you're going to learn something, and I promise you're going to have fun. Perry is a blast. What are we doing Wednesday, Liz?
So first I have to say, hey, Denise. Looks like Denise is excited to see Chris back as well.
Yep.
Just got a comment over there. Let's see, on Wednesday, so Sharon Timberg is having a roof put on her house. And so she is going to be coming on and talking to us about training your cleaning professionals. But there might be a little bit of a glitch there, you guys, with her situation with getting a roof. I promise you, we're having Sharon on, though. She will be a first-time visitor to Smart Business Moves, and we're super excited to have her on. I'm just not positive she's going to make it this Wednesday, but fingers crossed, everybody. All right, Tom, what are we doing on Thursday?
I can't tell you.
You can't tell me. Oh,
It's a secret.
Can you tell anyone? Oh, it's a secret. All right. All right. Well, we'll let you have that.
So, I guess Thursday we did on the spot, and it wasn't heavily the participation rate was below par, I guess. Is that fair to say?
That's fair.
So we're going to take a break from on the spot. We're going to do something different Thursday, and I guess quite honestly, we've got several ideas, and it's going to be, we're still refining the process, to be quite honest, but it's going to be educational in nature. It's going to be different than the typical Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday Smart Business Moves, and we'll have more information as the week goes on, but we'll be here Thursday, and we'll be doing something hopefully useful. That's our goal.
Oh, wait a minute. That's this Thursday.
Uh-huh.
I won't be here.
Okay.
Oh, wait a minute. Yes, I will. I'm sorry. Yes, I will. I'm going to be in Colorado, but so the time zone is different for me. So I was like, uh-oh, but I was doing the time the wrong way. I'll be here. I'll just be in Colorado.
Okay.
You should be doing the talk today. You've got it down too.
Apparently I don't, Chris. I can't even handle just a 2-hour difference.
Oh, the time zones get me every time.
Yeah, I bet.
They're mountain time, correct?
Are they mountain? I was thinking they're central. Oh, you're right, Tom. It is only one.
Earlier than you. So
Yeah, it is only 1 hour. 1 hour later.
it's 2 o'clock your time, right now, 2 something. It's 3 something there.
Right. 1 hour later. Yep. So I will be there.
So can you handle the jet lag?
I'm pretty sure I'm gonna be able to handle it. I don't really get jet lagged. I'm grateful for that. I'm always afraid I'm going to, which Tom can tell you a funny story of how I was really afraid I was going to. So I took some magical product that I thought was going to be awesome for me called Dream Water. Don't ever take Dream Water.
That didn't end well.
And well, and I never have a jet lag, so I don't even know what my problem was. I was just like, I don't want to have it. I'm afraid.
Are you a napper on planes? That usually helps a lot. Oh, surprise.
I can't sleep on a plane. I know. Tom always brags about how well he can sleep on a plane just to needle me. I can sleep anywhere except on a plane. I don't know why. I can fall asleep literally right now here at my desk.
I'm getting close to it right now, Liz. I don't know what that does for everybody else, but
all right. Sorry, y'all. Sorry. Okay, we'll let Chris start talking now.
Chris, so what's been going on in your world?
Big news first, Chris.
Oh yeah. So I was on the show a couple weeks ago. For anyone new watching, I was walking Tom and Liz through the perilous journey of getting married via mail, which is what I'm doing right now. I mean, I've had a long relationship with my partner. It's not like a pen pal marriage, but just because of COVID, we're having to get married in a little unconventional way. And last week she was my fiance. She's now finally my wife officially. So we're all officially married.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So
that is good news. So you're a married guy now.
Tragically. No.
You're alive, Chris.
No, yeah.
He's already stopped doing dishes.
You know, it's just on a side note. She's a very clean person. So when I'm there in Tokyo, she always asks me to clean the apartment. And my excuse is, Yuki, I run a cleaning company. I don't want to clean in my free time. And for now, we're working, but I can't imagine that's going to work forever.
No.
So I'm begging her, like, please.
I think that works as a fiance, not so much as a husband.
No,
Sorry,
I show her my news feed all the time because in the group, someone is always posting a toilet or something. And I'm like, Yuki, it's another one. Like it's every day.
One more, see? Hey, Don. Hey, Leslie. Hey, y'all.
So you got a bunch of congrats over here. Yeah, there's a whole lot to learn about this being married thing. And no sense in me trying to fill in the blanks. You'll get there and clean the apartment. Just clean the apartment with a smile on your face.
I'm thinking it's a lot harder. So now that you're married, does that open up travel for you guys?
Will, this is the other half of the process we're going through. We have to gather a bunch of forms to prove that we're in a relationship, even though we're married, which is weird. But we have to gather a bunch of forms to get access to another form, to then get access to another form so that we can apply for the visa, which is crazy, but that's bureaucracy. So it is what it is. So we're doing all the additional paperwork now, which will take a couple months, but we should be together end of this year, very beginning of next year. So pretty soon.
Okay. So
and it'll be me going over to her.
So you might have just a wonderful 2021 in your, you will have, right? So
I'm feeling it. Yeah.
Something great to look forward to. So many people are like, oh, sick of 2020, but you got something great to look forward to. That's awesome.
Yeah, you're a couple months away. Be here before you know it. So what is COVID like in England? You guys are like locked down pretty tight, aren't you?
We are. So I'd actually say it's going pretty well overall. That wouldn't be the general sentiment you get from people, but we have way more cases, but way less deaths. It's like 1/10 of the deaths at the same rate of cases as before. So, I mean, that's pretty good to me, in just a few months. Yeah, there's a lot of backlash against the government, because the cases were falling anyway. So you can't travel in or out of the UK now. There's a lot of, I'm looking at it from an American perspective. European perspective is a little bit different. Many Americans, I think, would consider these lockdown measures a little bit extreme, and I fall in that camp as well. I personally think it's a little bit extreme. So Europe is it's so hard to give one update because Europe it's so different than the US. They're really their own countries, not just states. So they have their own laws, they have their own procedures. To a greater extent, the states don't have, right? So the UK, I can speak to, but even an hour away where France is, they're handling it totally differently. Oh. They've got a totally separate set of issues going on right now. So it
makes sense. They are different countries, so.
Yeah. I just meant it's hard to give a snapshot because it's big.
Right.
I think people are just tired everywhere in the world of it, which is the general sentiment, right? So tired and ready to move on. I think that's mostly Europe too.
Yeah, so I guess the big news, which is dominating, the discussion today, is the Pfizer announcement that their vaccine came back with a 90% efficacy rate, which just blows any other guesstimates just as completely out of the water. The thinking was anything at 50% would be serviceable and they'd move ahead with it. But there's a ton of optimism. It's probably going to take a year or more for them to roll enough of it out to get everybody the vaccine that's willing to take it. But the stock markets are certainly responding to the news.
Oh man, what a week for the stocks. What an emotional roller coaster these past 7 days.
Yeah, it's really interesting. People are buying Disney and cruise ships and selling Zoom and, the COVID stocks. I think I saw that NASDAQ actually closed down for today.
Wow.
But the Dow was up over 1,000 points. So
okay. I haven't seen anything. That's the first I've heard. That sounds really great.
Yeah.
The thinking has been all along that they'll come up with a vaccine, but that was never a sure thing. And this looks a lot closer to making it a sure thing.
Nice. Well, all right. So we got some good news with COVID stuff. Chris has got some good news going into 2021. So Chris, make our lives better too. How are we all gonna have wins here? What can we do?
In terms of the talk today?
Yeah.
So last time, I was going to say last week, but it was maybe 2.5 weeks ago. We were really talking about running your business remotely, and so we wanted to kind of continue that theme and get to the third part of what we were discussing. So we discussed a personal productivity system for people. We discussed some simple systems that you can implement. And there's kind of a third part to that puzzle is the delegation part. It's actually building out your team, training them and giving them responsibility to run everything remotely so that you can know it's being handled and not, waiting for an emergency phone call at 2 a.m. So that's what we're going to talk about today is how you actually win with the remote operations and how you can actually put your team in place and make sure that they're doing the job with a level of quality that gives you peace of mind.
Could you maybe just give us a recap of the personal productivity and the other two parts getting up to the accountability?
Sure, yeah. So one thing that's been important for me and for a lot of people that I talk to is fixing yourself first, essentially, before you fix your business. As a small business owner in particularly if you don't have a management team in place yet, you are your business. And so you have to be productive yourself before you can actually get your business to a place where it's doing work for you. You have to actually learn to do the work first. So there's a very simple productivity system I teach people. Essentially, there's 3 parts to it. There's a way of prioritizing your tasks. I call this the ABCDE method. Essentially, you write all of your tasks down on a piece of paper or several. We're all busy. And you give each task a letter grade of importance. So A is a super critical task, B is important, C is a little less important, all the way down to D. And this is just a very simple way of giving you an idea of which of your tasks are critical and what are always the most important tasks that you need to be working on. So that's kind of part one of the productivity system. Part two is a method of kind of eliminating busy work called batching. And what this is taking all of your smaller tasks in this system, your C, D, and E tasks, the ones that are important, but they're not critical, and batching them together throughout the day into certain periods. So in my cleaning company, for example, from 9 to 10 a.m., we have a set of tasks that we do that are important, but we don't need to do them the minute they come in. We can do them a little bit later at a time of our choosing. We also have one at 4 to 5 p.m. where we do things like charging the cards. We send out schedules for the next day, where we call customers for the cleanings that day and ask how they were, and so on. So this is kind of part two, is we take all of our smaller tasks and we batch them into 2 or 3 different set periods throughout the day, so that the rest of our day is free for the big tasks that we want to focus on. And the third part is really just a to-do list that has 3 lists. That's do, batch, and watch. Do are the most important tasks that you're working on at any time. Batch are the batch tasks we just talked about. And watch are all the tasks that you need to do in the future, but they're not your current set of tasks. Or they're tasks that you're waiting for other people to reply to you for. So this is a really super basic productivity system that I teach people, and it works, from what I've seen, a lot better than more complex systems or more complex versions of to-do lists that a lot of people try and set up and optimize. So this is kind of an anti-optimization system, in that it's meant to get you always working on the most important task, but you're not trying to do 100% of things all the time. So that's kind of part one of what we talked about briefly, is having an efficient system in place for you to actually do your work. Part two was really about putting simple, uncomplicated systems in your business and finding a balance between system and human. So it's very popular to talk about automation and delegation nowadays, but a lot of people are trying to have like 20 or 30 systems in their business. There's I won't name anyone, of course, but I see a lot of freebies or free PDFs or videos on how to systemize your business, and they have like 30 top systems your business needs. And I'm like, your business doesn't need 30 systems. You know, it just really doesn't. So I advocate a very simple, down-to-earth systems that are maybe 2 to 5 steps in length. And at the end of that, they're just achieving a simple goal for each system that you have. You don't need a complicated, optimized, perfected system that does everything for you, unless you're a big tech company or a software agency, which you're not. We're a small cleaning company, and we need basic systems to run things like hiring, client retention, sales, and marketing, right? There's 5 or 6 core systems that we need, and there's a few other ones that you might like that might be helpful, but outside of the 5 to 6 core ones, you're overkill. It's overkill, and you're focusing on the systems and not enough on the service that you're delivering or the people in your business. So part two was these simple systems we talked about implementing and making sure that you're not over automating in your business.
Good advice.
It's really good advice, because everybody thinks that you just have to automate every single thing, that everything should be automated. So I loved when you shared that last time. I'm like, that makes good sense.
And you can get to the point where you're reaching the point of diminishing returns or even negative returns. You're burning more calories and spending more time trying to maintain the automation than the actual work that the automation would be saving you.
Precisely. And it gets expensive too, because you have to have different tools for different systems. And it's like you're spending like $500 a month on different software that you don't really need, So it's a people business, Yeah. We can't forget that.
And so, the other part of that would be, in some cases, the automation has a diminution of outcome, because it is an automation rather than a human being. And if a human being were doing it, they can assess the situation and call an audible if necessary. And just the human contact oftentimes will get you a better outcome.
So much. Yeah. I mean, every bad review you get in your business, most of them will be solved by having a conversation with the person. not by sending an automated reply offering them a discount or something. It's talking to them. So
that's a good example.
That's a perfect example. Yeah. It really goes to your point of this is a people business.
It is. And again, I'm a systems guy. I love them, but they have their place, and it's too easy for them to get out of control. That's all. And
when you see, some of the things that are floating around in social media, and I mean, and it's all good. It's all, well intended. But as a cleaning business owner, sometimes you look at that and you say, well, gee, am I missing the boat? Do I need to be doing more in the way of automations? And I guess you're kind of giving us all, your permission and license to, a little bit of common sense here, one bite at a time. And sometime, at some point, it's too much. That there's only the 100% automated house cleaning service doesn't exist, and probably won't for a long time.
Nor should it.
Right.
Yeah, that's so true. It's interesting, people get so granular today with things like email open rates or who visits what page of your website most. Have you seen like Hotjar tools like these?
Mm-hmm.
They're really useful if you're a marketer. But if you're a cleaning business owner, they can be useful, but there's just a million things you should be spending your time on first. That's something you should play around with if you're bored on a Sunday afternoon and you really have finished all your other tasks. That's
I think that's a really good point too. We talk a lot, like in our MMA groups, about doing the right things at the right time. You can't do all of the stuff all of the time. And that's not the smart move anyway, to try and get it all done. That's not it. That's not where it's at.
Exactly. Yeah. It's and that's part of what we're talking about today is removing yourself from the things you're bad at too, or the things you can't judge accurately, so that you only do the tasks that you enjoy in your business, which is what I do now. I don't do sales because I don't enjoy it. I'm not a salesy guy. I just like to have a conversation like we're having now. I don't want to push people for 1 million upsells, even though I know it'll make me more money. I just don't like that stuff. So you remove yourself.
And you're lazy.
Sorry?
And you're lazy.
I am lazy. I really.
Yes. I love that when you said that earlier. You're like, yeah, I'm just kind of lazy.
Well, you're married now, just so to some degree that will change. You'll be cleaning the apartment.
Shouldn't have let that one slip.
Hey, David, good to see you. Haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah, David got in the house.
All right.
Step 3. Now that we've addressed personal productivity and organizing our day in a rational way, I really like the idea of setting aside, a couple hours a day in a block where this is where we're going to take all the queued up tasks that, for the most part are probably daily activities and get them all knocked out in a scheduled period of time. And simple systems, don't go crazy on the automation. What's next?
Yeah, so the third part of this is really gradually increasing responsibility. So I'm going to skip, there is a 4th step, but I'm going to skip it for brevity's sake. Otherwise, we'll be here for 2 hours. I'm going to assume, and we can talk about this separately sometime if you guys want, I'm going to assume that you have a manager or a VA or someone in place that you can delegate to. The 3rd step is step 2.5 is actually hiring the person. Step 3 is the training them and making your business actually able to run remotely. So that's what we're going to cover today. Hiring and finding that person is a whole topic in itself. So I don't know. We could cover it, but it would be a lot. So I'm going to assume you have a person, whether it's a friend or family member, VA, office manager, you have someone who's able to be there, who can run things for you. And we're going to talk about how to train them.
Okay.
So there's a couple different things that I think are really important, even before you start training a person, with all these things that we're going to share. And one of these is what I call the 3 most important conversations you'll have with your manager before you go remote. And these are the three conversations. Really, they're the same conversation. They're three different questions, but they need to be discussed in depth. So what will I be handling and what will you be handling? This is really important because a lot of owners will hire a VA or a manager and then within 2 weeks dump all of their tasks on that person, and that person gets overwhelmed because they're just new to your business. They're new to your teams and customers, and you've just dumped everything on them. And you end up having to handle things or help them with certain things, and the lines between your tasks and their tasks become blurred right out of the gate. So the first really important conversation you have to have is be clear on what you're doing and you're going to continue doing and what they're going to be doing. And I'll give you an example. I still do some of the marketing for my cleaning company. I'll tweak a Facebook ad campaign. I'll update some thumbtack templates, or play around with my budget on AdWords. I'll do some of the high-level marketing tasks for my business, but my manager will handle the follow-up. They'll actually message the leads, they'll call them and book them, and they'll actually engage with them in the sales process, right? So we're both doing some marketing and sales, but it's very clear what part of it I'm handling and what part of it they're handling. They're never going to touch the budget because they don't know how to handle that task. It's something that I do. So the first one is just being very, very crystal clear on what you're handling, what they're handling. And number two is, how do we both communicate best? This is important in any situation, but especially when you're going to be limited to talking over the computer with maybe a weekly meeting or two. You have to understand each other's communication styles, and you have to understand if they're able to comfortably bring up problems to you or not. And this was a problem for me at first. Is one of my VAs was a very good yes man type of person. And so they were really full of energy, really happy, bubbly, and they would do a lot of the work that I assigned to them, but they would always be afraid to tell me if there was a problem. Not because I was going to bite their head off, but because they were a very eager to please type of person. And so I would just go on with my day thinking everything was okay, but things were mounting in the background, and they would jump to the new tasks that I assigned them and not finish the ones that I'd given them before. And so there was, I don't want to say a mountain, but there was an amount of unfinished tasks that started building, and some issues that they didn't feel comfortable communicating to me because we had very different communication styles. So the second important conversation you have to have is to be very open and clear about how you expect to communicate. For us, it's ridiculously specific and blunt. Even if it comes across as rude, it doesn't really for us because we've been working together a long time, but we just jot the issues down on a piece of paper and we just go through them even if it's awkward. So having a clear communication style is really important. And the third big thing, kind of the prep for this before starting, is discussing in advance ways that you guys both prefer tough situations to get handled. So for me, I'm in different time zones. Sure.
Oh, that's good. I said, yeah, that's good.
Oh, I thought you were saying just a minute. Sorry.
No, it's good.
So the third one is just discussing different ways that you want tough situations to get handled in advance. And we call this the uh-oh protocol. So if it's 2 a.m., I do not want to be woken up because I'm in a different country. I really, unless it's genuinely an emergency, which has never happened beyond like one time I can think of, don't wake me up. Just handle it. I trust my manager. They're very independent now for them to handle it. So a situation like this might be discussing what to do when they need to fire a team. If a team does something in a customer's house, that's incredibly inappropriate, and you actually feel the need to take them out of the cleaning there, which is rare, but maybe it'll happen. Discuss how you might do that. Discuss what you're going to do when a customer wants to file a claim against you. Discuss what you want to do when other emergencies happen. Just have a discussion about worst case scenarios and how you'd like them to get handled, so that they know, even if they don't come up with the perfect solution on the spot, they have your permission to work through that issue. So that's kind of the other big important conversation you want to have.
All right. So you call this the uh-oh concept?
Yeah. The uh-oh protocol. Yeah.
The uh-oh protocol. Okay. I love that. Do you have a list of some of the things that are in that list? Like you gave us, like I think 3 right there. How long is that list, Chris?
Mine isn't that long.
I was thinking it was probably short based on step 2, right?
So for me personally, some business owners have like a really long specific list. For me, it's more a case of, to be perfectly honest, what what will cause my lifestyle the least impact, how they handle that. So that's kind of, for me, how I want them to think about an emergency is, can they handle this emergency even if it costs some money to fix without bothering me? And that definitely, some business owners want to be aware of every minor emergency, and that's fine. I try and be very detached from the day to day if I can. So I have something called, is this a PG-13 talk or?
No.
Okay. I have something called a fuck up fund that my managers have access to. And it's essentially like $250, $300 a week that they can use to fix any issues in the business. And they just don't even have to tell me about it. So if we have a really frustrating customer and they keep asking us to go back and re-clean and they just want a refund and they don't really deserve a refund, my manager can just give the refund and not even tell me about it, and I don't even know it ever happened. So they have like a set fund dedicated where they can just fix stuff, and this has allowed them to be very independent. So this is part of our protocol. Is this a minor thing that they can fix themselves, or is this a major thing that I really need to know about, like $1,000 project that went wrong and I've just got to step in and fix it? So our protocol is very short.
Yeah, it does sound short. It sounds simple. I do have we call it a fix it fund. It's a little bit different, but I think it's the same concept. But ours is also not weekly. So your $250 a week, ours is $500, and it's like per incident. So, but you have like a $250 a week. Does it, like if they don't spend it this week, do they get 500 next week?
So
it's
the
week after?
It's a good question. I'm not too picky about it. There's a lot of flexibility. If it ends up being 300 or 350, that's fine. It's just a rough goal to aim for. Okay. So because the point of it is for them to be independent and not worrying about it. So if they get to 251 and they're worried that I'm going to be angry, I'm not. So it's just roughly, that's the level I consider it'll start to become a financial impact if they're consistently going over that, you know? So if they're spending thousands of dollars a month fixing issues, we need to have a talk. So that's all. It's not rigid.
Okay. That sounds great. All right. Oh, I wasn't looking at us writing notes. Chris left.
Sorry.
Did you follow up your school, Chris? I'm glad you didn't fall. So when you're talking about like the tough issues to handle, where does safety fall in there?
You mean in terms of teams feeling unsafe?
Like if somebody gets hurt, is that something that it's going to impact you, but do you think that's worth your, like a small dog bite, don't contact me. Somebody's finger gets ripped off, yes, contact me. I mean, is that part of a conversation, or?
If there's safety, they let me know immediately. And I'll give you a unfortunate example. I'll be brief, but just illustrate this.
You have plenty of time, Chris.
This was years ago, but this was my graduation day. Literally, like 30 minutes before I went to the graduation ceremony. One of our cleaners were out in not the best neighborhood in DC, but we'd cleaned there before and we'd never had issues, and we don't want to discriminate based on location. But this cleaner, she was being followed around by this couple, her clients, and they were propositioning her quite strongly. And she was texting us saying she was feeling unsafe, you know, and she didn't know if she wanted to keep cleaning because they wouldn't let up. They weren't touching her or anything, but they were it was very clear that they didn't hire a cleaner to clean. My manager let me know within minutes, and that was the right thing to do. Like that's a situation where if your manager has been working there for years, which mine has not, they were only working there a couple months at that point, they can handle that if they've been working there for years and they face those situations. But if you're just bringing on a manager, this is the reason I tell the story. It's how long you've been working together is really important in this case. If you're just hiring a team manager or a VA, this is a really delicate situation when it comes to safety or injuries or anything of that nature. You don't want to just ignore that problem, because that's really stressful for them to deal with as well, and they might not know how, and you might not like the result of that decision. So my advice to you would be, eventually you can let them handle that, but that's a level of responsibility that absolutely needs to be earned over a long period of time to handle those types of serious issues. So my managers would let me know immediately.
Yeah.
That basically is coming down to trust, based on the not just the level of trust you have with the VA, but the level of trust that you have with the VA understanding what the company stands for, and what you do, how you manage things.
Yeah, we have those discussions, and at some point, the magnitude of the problem is such that it's not really fair to leave, that responsibility and the potential of, bad consequences all on the shoulders of a manager either. We talk in terms of, losses that have commas and zeros, and let's talk about that. Safety is definitely an issue. I guess one, just from a core value standpoint, and it's just, we owe it to the people that work for us to make sure that they're safe. But from a financial standpoint, we talk about, litigation. If something's happening that's going to result in getting that certified letter in the mail, a week later, I want to have that discussion before the letter shows up. And occasionally there's things that you could do that could get us sideways with the law, and nobody wants to go to jail. So, let's just make sure that, we're doing everything, the right way. And those are the type of discussions we have with our managers.
Well, this is an important point you're bringing up, because at the core of what you're saying is, when in doubt, let the owner know, just in case, which is really important. When they're first working together and they're first on their own without you there minute by minute, it's just hard to judge what's important and what's not. So they should just err on the side of letting you know, and then you can grumpily tell them, don't bother me about that, or whatever. And they'll learn over time, So
it's like, if you're asking me too many questions, I'll let you know. But don't ever be afraid that you're bothering me. That will never be a mystery.
Will be a secret.
Yeah, and we talk in terms of iterative process. Initially, you're going to have a lot of questions, and that's good. I would, if you don't, I would be concerned. And when those questions come up, are they teachable moments where we can transcend that particular, scenario and apply it in a broader context to give you perspective as to how to handle similar situations in the future. So I guess I'm hearing you say the same thing, Chris. It evolves over time, and as time goes on, there's fewer questions.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I would add on to that, it's important to do trial runs, particularly if you're not just going to be remote, if you're going to be in a different country entirely than just a different state. I think we talked about this last time very briefly, so if I'm repeating, apologies. It's really important to do a trial run of varying lengths of time. And so when you first hire your management team, don't do what I did and go remote like 2 days later or a week later. That's really wasn't a good idea, and I'm just very fortunate things turned out okay. You want to set goals for yourself, and you want to set goals for your team. And so what I mean is, hire them and train them on one task at a time first. Make sure that they're good at the operational tasks. Make sure that they're good with your teams and your customers. They're good with the sales tasks. Teach them one task at a time until there's a level of quality there that you're okay with, and then move on to the next one. Do those things before you go remote, so that it doesn't actually matter if you go remote or not. But once you've actually got that level of quality there, do a trial run for a week and go on a mini vacation somewhere. Of course, be available to them, but actually leave your office and be physically so far away that you can't go back if there's an issue, or it will take you quite a while to get back. Do it for a week, then do it for a month, then do it for 3 months, do it in steps so that not only are you gaining confidence, but your management team is gaining confidence too. Because it's easy for us to switch off after we've been on for so long. I know some people it's hard for. For me, I'm excited to switch off, but it's your team can feel really lonely is not the right word, but what's the word I'm looking for here? Your team
abandoned.
It's along those lines, but it's a strong word to use. I wouldn't want to say abandoned, but unsure. Your team can feel way more unsure of what to do on a day-to-day without you there than either of you would assume at first. They'll tell you it's fine, go enjoy yourself, go away, I don't need you. But then day one comes and they're like, oh, what do I do? So
I guess in terms of the direction that you provide, it's hard just to go cold turkey, so to speak. You have to do it in steps.
Right. And so that's kind of the theme of both of our talks is anything that you're going to do in business, whether it's systems or delegation or productivity or sales, you do it in small steps first and then gradually increase the size of those steps over time. Right. So that's kind of the Kaizen approach to business, if you will, or the Toyota way if you're from a previous generation, the 1970s, 80s. Toyota was a very big. There's a great book about it called The Toyota Way. I'm sure you've heard of it.
What's your point, Chris?
No, I say that in all respect.
No, I'm kidding.
He's just giving you grief there, Chris. Gotta give you young whippersnappers some comeuppance every now and again.
Yeah, I think I have a copy of the book over at the office. The pages are yellow, but yeah.
So, I think I missed out on the whole Toyota Way thing because I was trained in Kaizen, and then didn't really learn about the Toyota Way until after I started with Kaizen.
You have a background in it.
Yeah. Oh, no. My sister-in-law is the top Kaizen trainer for the state of Washington, and so that's my background. My sister-in-law.
for this, how the state
government
works in Washington.
The government, yeah.
Okay.
So she's retired, but she was for I think 6 years. They flew her all around the country for different things. Yeah, teaching people.
My mind is racing as to what's the punchline to that, but we're not even going to go there. So
yeah, good job, Tom.
Yeah.
Way to hold it together.
Yeah. It's hard though. I'm starting to sweat a little bit.
She'd be a very interesting person to have on the podcast sometime.
Yeah. Well, she's retired and she very much values her time, but I could happily reach out to her for you. I should probably try and get her on here. I've been afraid.
Oh, that's what I meant, to get her on for you guys. I don't have a podcast.
Yeah. Okay. I'm like, oh, yeah, I should probably reach out to her and at least ask her.
Okay, where were we? Oh yeah, sorry. This was all pre-work for you guys.
Small steps. Don't just jump into the deep end of the pool. I mean, it might work, what you just said. Occasionally it will, but occasionally it won't. And you don't want to accidentally be successful. You want to do it with a plan and execute.
Gotcha. Okay, so here's where we were. This is the interesting thing about this stage. If you've done the previous stages, this stage only needs, it's the easiest stage to implement, I would say. Actually building your initial processes and your SOPs and implementing your systems and making them work, not just buying a system and then hoping it works. That is so much of the battle right there, is getting that initial front work done. But once that's done, and you actually have a good person in place, the only things you need to do really that are essential are have these important conversations, gradually increase the skill level and the quality of the tasks that they're handling for you, right?
Mhm.
Give them the independence with a fix-it fund. I might change it to that. Give them the independence with something like a fix-it fund, and give them the independence to screw up. That really is such a big one, to screw up when you're not there, and know that you're not going to be angry about it. These are the big key elements that you're going to want if you want to win with remote operations. The only other big thing that I'd add that I think is important is this concept of being ridiculously specific with your communications. You really do need to be very specific and very clear in your communications when you're only going to be talking over Skype, or you're only going to be talking over WhatsApp or email. And it's really been the cause of so many businesses having problems behind the scenes that the owner doesn't know about and they come back to. It's been the cause of so many problems that I've seen, is where people gave too much responsibility early on, or they weren't checking in enough with their management team when they'd gone remotely, and so they just weren't aware of any issues that happened. If you're in person in your office and there's an issue, it's very easy for you as the owner to see that issue. It's going to pop up eventually, or a team member is going to say something even if the manager doesn't, or a customer is going to say something. But if you're not answering your phone, if you're not talking to your teams every day, if you're not talking to your managers every day, you don't actually have a daily connection to your business anymore, which is the goal for many of us. But it means that if you've done this too soon and you've done it too quickly, without that independence and that trust and that quality built in, then you're going to have issues and you're not going to know about them until it's too late in many cases. So this front work that you're doing is the big part of the battle that you have to get out of the way.
How often do you communicate with your office staff now?
I'm not an ideal person for this question. So I do it a little bit less because they've been working with me so long. I'll give you what I advocate and what I do. So I'll be honest with you. I advocate at minimum 2 meetings a week at first for the first 6 to 12 weeks. If you've already worked with that person a while, 2 meetings a week remotely is fine. If they're new and you're going remote quickly, you should be having 3 or 4 meetings a week. Even if they're 5 or 10 minutes a day, it should be a near daily thing at first for the first few months. After the first couple of months, you can wind that down to once a week, once they've got their independence up, and once you've seen that they've been consistent without you there. Because people who are consistent with you there are often the very people who start to be inconsistent when you're not there. And it's not that they're trying to be. Some people just do better with supervision around. They do better. They're more comforted when there's a person they can go to when there's an issue. So you may find, right, and you can often train people to be confident to do that. But in some cases, you may find that you may need a new manager who does do better remotely if the current one that you have, and I hate to say this, sometimes the manager is the one who doesn't do the transition well, not the owner. Some owners are micromanagers, and it can be hard to end up transitioning to fully remote, just psychologically. But sometimes it really is the manager may be excellent, 5 out of 5 when you're there, but they might be 2 out of 5 when you're gone all the time. And you may unfortunately, it may be a casualty situation where you may either have to train them up, or you may have to bring in support or replace them if they're not able to make that transition well with you. So, yeah.
I can totally see that. That is absolutely, and everybody has dealt with that style too. It's the same with sometimes your team members on the field. They're great when they're on a team, but then if they're by themselves, they kind of fall apart. They don't get everything done. They get confused. They get distracted. Same type of thing.
Right, and it's not a knock on them in any way. It's a different way of running your business, and
right.
Sometimes you need a different person.
So we're talking about, conversations and the frequency that you should have those, even if they're, very short. Are there other communications channels that you find useful where, information is going 2 ways, or maybe just one way other than a physical conversation?
Sure. So here's our communication setup in its entirety. We're using Slack now because I have all my businesses on Slack, and so I just have everyone in a Slack together. That works for me. But we also have a WhatsApp group where my managers and me and the cleaners are in it, and a separate WhatsApp group where it's just the managers and the cleaners, and a third one where it's just me and the managers. So there's one for the whole company, which is rarely used because I don't want to hear about it. There's one for the managers and the teams, which is the kind of the bulk of all the communication where they all talk together for any issues that come up. Just for reference, guys, our cleaners don't go to an office. They go directly from their home to their first cleaning. So we don't have a central meeting point for our teams. So if you don't have a central meeting point, having a group where everyone is in it together is really important just for company culture, just to have something where you can talk to each other. And then I have one for me and my managers where if they just have a quick question, they can get a reply in 5 minutes from me. That's the big one. And the other big one is the weekly meeting, which I'm not that good at, admittedly. I would like to add, there's something that happens frequently, which can really negatively affect your business when you go remote. Maybe it's natural to an extent, but a lot of owners become too emotionally detached from their business when they go remote. There's a balance, like anything in life, there's a balance, right? I like being able to travel. I like doing all these things. But at the end of the day, if someone's having a problem in my business or a customer's unhappy, I still care about fixing that. But if you've been running your business for 10 or 20 years and you're just on some level tired of it and you go remote and it's great for a few months and you finally have a vacation, it's very easy once you've started delegating someone. It's very easy to come to a place where you start to, when you unwind a little bit, you unwind a little too much, and it's hard to get back into the grind of things. It's hard to start to invest emotionally in your business again. And this is kind of one of those hidden dangers of going remote, where it seems great when you're in vacation mode again, but if you can't get back in to the grind of business, and it's just a grind, if you can't get back into that, your business will start to suffer, because that's you've always been switched on in your business since you started it. But if you finally switch off and you find you can't switch it back on, that's when big problems start to accumulate in your business. And they're big not because they're big themselves, but because you don't care enough to fix them, and so they get bigger. So I just wanted to mention, if you're going remote, try not to switch off 100%. Always be 5 or 10% switched on so that you can crank it back up when there's an issue.
And so when you're talking about, Chris, you're talking about having to sort of plug back in again, you're saying that they would only have to plug back in again when there was some type of an issue, though. It's not like every quarter you have to plug back in a bigger way and check on things, or every 6 months, or is that correct?
Yeah, correct. I'll give you an example. If you just went remote to Tokyo and you were there for a year, hypothetically, of course, yeah. And there's a customer who's really unhappy with your service, and they start blasting you on Google, they start blasting you on Facebook, they start blasting you everywhere. You know intellectually that can really affect your revenue, and you need to fix that. But if you've just been on a great vacation for a long time and you're checked out, you might just go, you know what? I don't care. I don't care. I'm going to go to the beach today. I don't care. It's just whatever. It doesn't matter. More customers will come, whatever. You know?
Yeah.
That's what I mean. You
this
don't
lackadaisical attitude of, oh, well, it'll be fine. Everything will always be fine.
And this is the balance that's so hard to achieve in business, because you go from business owners are very extreme people. We go from one extreme to the other, right? So it's not a bad thing. We accomplish a lot by doing that, but it's very easy when you finally go remote and start living in a different place to be just disconnected to the point where your business really suffers and you don't notice or you don't care anymore. And this business that's given you these beautiful gifts of this lifestyle, it's going to stop giving them eventually if you don't keep taking care of it. So that's all I meant.
We're approaching the top of the hour here. I bet you have some hints and some advice as to how not to shut it down completely to the point where you can't get it started back up again. I think that would be a cool discussion. And we have the whole area of how do you find the right person to delegate to begin with. I think that would be awesome as well. So hopefully we can do this again sometime in the not too distant future.
Sure.
And pick up on some of those points. David,
he's never going to let you off the hook, right, Chris?
It's fun. I enjoy it.
Well, we do too, and you bring such good value that it's like, oh gosh, yes. I really do want to dig a little bit more into it at some point in time. I know we can't too. How do people communicate best? Because communication styles can really be tough for people. So I would like to dig into that.
We do have a couple of questions that we'll want to, get in before we call it a day. David's asking about, value proposition with your leadership, your managers, and techniques to groom them. So I guess they grow within the organization rather than decide they need to find another job.
This is a good one, actually. It's a good one.
When you're doing it remotely, I imagine that's even a kind of a greater challenge because, you're kind of working together, but you really aren't working together. Or, I could see the perception being developed that, it's less than a 50-50 effort. Maybe it's a 90-10 effort, and they're doing 90% of the work. And how am I benefiting and growing from this?
Right. How are they going to be satisfied long term? This is such a good question. It's almost more of a question for my VA agency, because that's kind of what we do is we find and train managers for people, right? So this is something that we've battled long and hard with, is how we make sure they're satisfied in the long term, that there's always a progression for them, that they're always adding more value year after year, right? So I can certainly speak to it a little bit. The main thing I would say is finding the right profile of person to work with, though. If you're finding, and I'm just going to be a little blunt here, if you're going to hire a 23-year-old MBA student who wants to earn $1 million by 30, that's not me, by the way, it's just a random example, and you hire them as an office manager, they're not going to stick around for 20 years in your cleaning business. It's just what it is. So you have to find someone who is comfortable working for the long term in your business and is comfortable at the level that you see them working at till the end. So for us, that's people who, and if I'm going over, I can stop if you want.
No, that's good. It's got to be the right fit from the beginning. If it's not, then you're probably
never going to be.
Yeah.
Right. So try to think of it less as grooming them and increasing their value, and more as finding the right long-term fit for your business and finding the right long-term fit for them. For us, that happens to be stay-at-home moms who are very educated, who only want to work between 2 and 6 hours a day. They don't want to work 10 hours a day, but they're really good at what they do. So for us, an ideal person who wants to work with us for 20 years, this is most of the people who work for us now, is someone who is college educated, who is between 35 and 65, and who wants to work specifically part-time, but they like being available all day for things that come in. So they don't mind talking on the phone, right? And they want to be part of a company culture. Because if you're working at home, it gets really lonely. And a lot of remote workers want to be part of an active company. So more than increasing their value proposition, it's just finding the right fit from day one.
Yeah, that's great.
Susan's asking a question, and I'm not sure, what context. Pay rates vary a lot from one part of the country to the next, and
so Yeah, this is God. There's 1,000 different answers. To keep it simple, if you're hiring a VA, it'll be a package rate. You'll pay for 30 hours a month or 60 hours a month, or you'll pay them some sort of agreed hourly rate with a time tracking software. If it's an office manager, you'll have state averages for office managers, and you would meet them somewhere in the average hourly rate for that. So it just depends on what specific type of job title you're hiring for, because there's a huge amount of variance with job titles and pay.
Yeah,
Even if
that
they
makes
do,
perfect sense.
And you can Google like Department of Labor in the U.S. Department of Labor and wages, and you can just actually plug in whatever position you're looking, and it'll take you into DOL site and for your particular market, for whatever city you're in, will let you know, the low, the high, the mean, the median, and give you some perspective as where you need to be in order to be competitive for anything from a cleaning technician to an office manager.
So I will add one quick thing to that, just as a tip. This is one of the really wonderful things about the age that we're living in now with cleaning companies is you could pay a VA only for the time that they work throughout the day, but their hourly rate is higher as a result. So you might pay a VA $25 an hour, as an example, but they're not working 8 hours a day. They might only work 2 or 3. So even though you're paying them a higher hourly rate, you're saving a lot of money versus paying someone $20 an hour, 8 hours a day. So there's such a great amount of flexibility to meet each other's needs here in a way that there wasn't before, because it was an all or nothing thing before.
That's a good point.
Yeah, it's a really good point, because people get confused by that higher price point. So I love that.
Well, we are, I guess, into overtime now, just a little bit. Chris, thank you. This is really good information. Much appreciated. I know our audience appreciates it as well. And, we look forward to having you back again to continue the discussion.
Thanks so much, guys. It's always fun.
Oh, thank you, Chris. And I just want to one last time, congratulations, and look forward to hearing from you soon that you get to actually go to Japan.
Yeah. And then our business moves, it'll be a lot earlier or later, depending on your perspective. Sometimes late becomes early, right? Not sure.
That's true.
If you're late enough, yeah.
Yeah, if you're late enough, yeah. All righty.
Thanks, guys. We'll be here tomorrow, 5 o'clock with Perry Tate. It'll be very early for Perry. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Thanks, y'all. Bye-bye.